Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today is time for the Flicks of the Week, where I'm going to give you my top picks from all the major streaming and movie channels. If I start to sound a little bit like Nick Nolte in this video, it's not because his birthday's coming up in 131 days. It's because I spent all weekend at Dragon Con. I'm feeling wrecked, but still putting this video out for you on Monday, as usual. If you want to know more about my Dragon Con adventures, you can check out my podcast, the Flick Connection podcast. There's a link to that in the description below, or it's available most places you can find a podcast. As usual, we're going to start off with my Netflix picks, and this week I've got an unusual pick. It's something I wouldn't normally gravitate towards, but it's called The Best Offer, and it stars Jeffrey Rush as not an art dealer, I guess an art dealer, but like an antique dealer. Very, very high-end, very famous antique dealer, and he essentially gets roped into this this new estate where the only heir to the estate is this woman who's very secretive, and then he starts to like uncover this like mystery. There's little clues left around this house, and then ultimately there's this really odd element. I don't want to give it away, but there's a very odd element around the woman that has hired him. It's fairly long and it's fairly slow, but it's got such an interesting story to it. I honestly think anybody that has ever like sat and vegged out on the Antiques Roadshow for an hour will really dig this one. And it is a good sort of mystery, not quite a thriller, but it is a good mystery movie. On September 4th, the Black Panther comes out. I talked about it last week when I talked about all the best stuff coming to Netflix in September, but the Black Panther is a very good Marvel movie. Now, some people like to hate on this movie, other people like to maybe pump it up a little bit too much, and I think that's really where the problem with this movie lies, is it got praised way too heavily. At the end of the day, it's a Marvel movie. It's just another Marvel movie. It happens to be one of the better ones, maybe in the top 5. It's really well put together. The production design is beautiful on this one. The costumes and stuff really stand out as being unique in the Marvel universe. Story-wise, it's exactly, all these Marvel movies are the same. Let's just be honest about it. But if you just want sort of like a visual spectacle and you want to watch another just brand new action movie and you have not gotten around to seeing this one yet, on the 4th, it's available. Check it out. I do recommend it. Now, on Amazon Prime, The Score is a really good little heist movie with Robert De Niro and Ed Norton. It's almost 20 years old now, but it is really good. It's got a slow burn to it, but it's interesting. Ed Norton plays a really bizarre character. Robert De Niro plays kind of this old retired bank robber, not bank robber, safe robber. But it's really well put together, well acted, and it's got a nice heist sequence to it. It's not just some sort of BS. It is a really well thought out, very quiet, slow heist sequence that is like pins and needles the entire way through. So for no other reason, I recommend watching it for that. But it is a good movie. I do like it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and it just now became available on Amazon Prime. Another really good Ed Norton movie, one of his first, and really to this day, one of his best performances, is Primal Fear with Richard Gere. Did not mean for that to rhyme, but this movie is also available on HULU. Really great courtroom drama. I don't want to give away any secrets to this one because it does have some incredible twists and turns in it. It's riveting all the way through. This is a really fantastic thriller. Really great courtroom scenes. If you're a courtroom drama junkie, odds are you've probably seen this one, but if for some reason you have not, I cannot recommend this one enough. So Primal Fear does double as a HULU recommendation, but I've got one more for HULU. It's one of my favorite movies on this list this week, and that's Unbreakable. This one I'm highly recommending, even if you've seen it, because Glass, which is essentially a sequel to Unbreakable, comes out in January, and HULU is the only place that has it. You know, HULU usually sucks as far as movie selections. This is the best movie on the list this week. If it's been a while since you've seen it, I think you'll be surprised at how good this movie is. It's just very well paced out. Every scene has something interesting going on in it. There's really interesting little clues with color throughout with the different characters, consistencies with color, all sorts of little details in this movie. It really, really is almost a modern masterpiece. I absolutely love it. If you like this type of content, definitely click the subscribe button and be sure to click that little bell icon as well, because it's the only way you'll get notified when I put new content out. On HBO, for another older De Niro movie, Ronin. I really love this one, and part of the reason I'm recommending it is because I know at home you're probably sick and tired of me gushing about how good Goodfellas is. It's also available on HBO right now. But I figured I'd go with Ronin, which has one of the absolute best chase sequences, car chase sequences in movie history. It's not blasphemy. Bullet is still up there, but Ronin does a beautiful job, and that is, if you pay attention to the chase sequence in Ronin, it's a very, very tricky thing to pull off because you constantly have to keep the audience oriented. You've got a couple of grayish colored cars in a tunnel on grayish colored streets, and you're having to keep them oriented so they know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, where you're at, where the geography is of this chase. It's a very, very tricky thing to do when you really, really think about it, and Ronin nails it. On STARZ, Black Snake Moan is really one of the only movies I want to recommend this week. So STARZ is lacking at the moment, but I did like this movie. Now, I might be a little bit partial because I got to see it in a special screening in Mississippi where they were like, big old giant guys were checking to make sure nobody was recording it. It was a pre-screen. It was kind of a cool event. And so that added a little bit of magic to this movie, but it is good. Christina Ricci plays a just drugged out nymphomaniac, and Samuel L. Jackson is just an old backwoods man that essentially gets his hands on her and chains her up to a radiator. Now, you would think that's for really nefarious purposes, but he's basically just wanting to help her get clean. So it's a really kind of unique story. I happen to be really partial to blues. I happen to be partial to the region this takes place in. So that's why I like the flavor of this one, but it's a nice little indie movie, even though it is kind of twisted and weird. If that sounds like you, though, definitely check this one out, because I know a lot of people probably passed on it. On Showtime, Traffic is such a just masterpiece of a drug movie. It really is it's a top 10 drug movie of all time. And that's when you're factoring in, you know, classics like Scarface and stuff like that. But Traffic is in the top 10 easily. It's so epic. There's so many incredible performances in it. It puts you in different places and different moods, and it jumps around, but it feels so cohesive. It's such a beautiful movie. The cinematography is incredible in this one. And so much happens in it. It is over 2 hours, but there's so much happening in it. It's almost like watching 3 different movies that are just layered together. I love everything about this movie, except some of the sequences in it are really upsetting. So be in the right mood when you watch this one, but it's one of my favorites of that genre. And for my rental pick this week, I'm bringing on another guest presenter, Jimmy Champagne. You can check his channel out, but I'm going to let him tell you about his pick for a rental this week.
How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Champagne, and first off, I want to thank Darren for having me here on his channel to talk about my pick for the week, which is Hereditary. Hereditary is Ari Aster's directorial debut, and it was put out by A24 earlier this year, and the Blu-ray comes out on September 4th for $24.99, which is a pretty good deal if you ask me. I loved Hereditary when it was released in theaters earlier this year, so owning it, especially on 4K Blu-ray, was an absolute must for me. That's because a lot of the movie's scariest moments happen in the background of scenes in darker rooms, so being able to pause and check them out up close for myself is going to be awesome. Also, I don't have to deal with people laughing at the scariest moments of the movie, and I won't have to listen to them clucking like Charlie throughout the entire runtime, which is amazing. I would have loved to have a director's commentary on this one, and I'm kind of bummed that there isn't, but there are a couple cool extras, and of course there's 9 deleted scenes from the 3-hour original cut of this movie, which while it would have been nice to have that on the Blu-ray, this is as close as we're gonna get. And finally, now that Hereditary is out on Blu-ray, I can have my perfect triple feature with The Witch and The Black Coat's Daughter to kick off the Halloween season. Thanks again for having me, Darren. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Jimmy, and be sure to go check out Jimmy's channel. There will be a link in the top of the description below. Let's see if we can give him a little Flick Connection bump. And then in the theater this week, another horror movie. The Nun is the biggest release of the week. It is part of the Conjuring series, the Conjuring, Annabelle. It falls in line with those. It is about the origin of the nun in The Conjuring 2, which to me, I've said it before, is one of the most frightening characters in modern or current horror movies. There's something about that Marilyn Manson looking nun that just scares the shit out of me. They've had a really impressive marketing campaign with this one. It is a summer movie release for a horror movie, which tends to be a sign that the studio has a lot of confidence in it. So I would expect this one to be very good. Maybe not as good as some of the original Conjuring movies, but still close. But that is it for my picks of the week. I will keep making videos like this as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.